All right. We are live. Rish, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yay. Great to see you. So, last time I saw you was in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, we saw each other at the Los Angeles. It was the Awareness Festival in LA
Yes.
at I forgot the theater. I think it was either
Oh,
Regal.
Regal.
It was a Regal.
Regal.
Yeah,
Yeah, Regal
yeah,
Theater. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a nice theater.
yeah. And my short was programmed right after a very lengthy feature length documentary. So that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so it's so great to see you. And let me read our audience your uh short bio. So Rish is a first generation immigrant of Indian descent, moving between the I don't know how to pronounce that.
Côte d'Ivoire.
The UK and US. And he spent years around the world, decide to make film home, and now he's based in US. His skills has been honored from years of working on short film, horror, Sherlock, broadcast
Horror schlock. Yeah,
horror schlock,
yeah.
broadcast news and documentaries. Yeah, he also produced the web doc series Behind the Long Box,
Beyond the Longbox. Yep.
Beyond the Long Box. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you became a filmmaker and director, and yeah, how was your upbringing? Um, make you become the artist today you are?
Um, I mean, if we go all the way back in time, when I was growing up in Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa, um, I got exposed to a lot of kind of like cinema as a child. Like I grew up watching a lot of action films, a lot of like watched a lot of cartoons, all sorts of stuff like that that kids tend to like. And but but also I got exposed, and those are things I enjoyed, but I got exposed to a lot of kind of worldwide cinema when we first got satellite TV. So I got to watch some like really wonderful Iranian films. There's one in particular that comes to mind called Children of Heaven. I saw my first Zhang Yimou film, Raise the Red Lantern. I saw that at a very young age. I think I saw it the same year it came out on satellite TV. I saw I saw all sorts of just wonderful films, and my father would buy me VHS tapes of Akira Kurosawa films whenever he'd visit the US. Like he'd buy me a whole bunch of kung fu films or whatever on VHS, but then like he bought these amazing like just masterpieces from Kurosawa, and I'd watch them, and I just saw like this huge kind of like divide and just this quality. I didn't understand why the quality was different. I didn't understand what it was, but I found them very affecting on me. Um, and kind of, I guess, in the back of my mind as a little kid, not fully understanding what I was watching, I knew there was a difference between um, these like really, really great pieces of storytelling versus just kind of like the very standard commercial stuff that we were being, that was being sold to us every day. And I think it always stuck in the back of my mind. I wanted to be a storyteller. Um, and it wasn't really until college I figured, oh man, it's going to be film. I think in the back of my mind, I always wanted to make films. I just didn't accept it because, my parents wanted me to be an accountant or to be like, in finance or like, you know, something, something where there'd be a more steady income. Cause, my family were immigrants and, they've experienced, different forms of instability in their lives, whether it was from economic stuff or just the trials and tribulations of being immigrants, um, or even just like in my dad's case, growing up, coming up as a young adult in the UK after having grown up in Tanzania, um, and having a hard time finding like better work despite being a very highly educated man. Like Like he didn't want me to have as much trouble getting work as he did, and I guess I just made the choices that made that even tougher for me to get work, because I picked an artistic path instead of going on the path that my parents wish I took. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the genesis of me wanting to be a storyteller. But it wasn't until my senior year of college at Fordham University, where I was the president of the sci-fi club, contemporary science fiction club, where we were able to get Max Brooks, who's the author of World War Z and the Zombie Survival Guide, to come to our campus. And in the process of that, we decided we'd just make a short zombie movie, and it would be really fun to kind of introduce our speaker with a short film we made. So in the span of like 2-3 weeks, we shot this short film without, we weren't able to get official permission from campus. So we just did it as discreetly as we could. And we had like something like 60 students involved in the film. And then kind of from there, just kind of going through the process of making my first short film, I kind of found that I really enjoyed the process, and then I just kind of kept at it from there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. So from filmmaking has involves writing and directing and shooting, cinematographer and editing and stuff. So what do you which part do you enjoy the most, or are you more focused on?
I mean, I kind of involve myself at all the steps, and for me, my perspective is, if I am writing a script, or I am, directing, or I am editing, like those are all filmmaking, and those are all important to me, because I feel like the thing that kind of changed my approach to everything was when I really sat down to learn how to edit. Because in like 2012, I kind of realized I was really scared of editing. Like writing and directing didn't scare me so much, because that's just kind of, I can kind of jump in and kind of do those things. I can, I was already like doing cinematography at that point. But when I really took the time to kind of get over my fear of editing, like I took this 6-week course in Manhattan at the Manhattan Edit Workshop to kind of force myself to get over the fear of editing. And I'm glad I did that, because it kind of made me realize that every kind of skill set in film is something I can learn and do. And even if I don't become a complete subject matter expert, being able to do the job, or at least trying the job and getting a feel for it, gives me a much better idea of how to communicate with people and how to make my intent clear when I'm making something. And I don't know if that answers your question, but I guess my absolute favorite point of the whole process is once I'm actually assembling the film, which I don't feel happens until you're in post-production. So for me, I think the parts where I'm kind of left alone to create the film ultimately happen when I'm editing and when I'm doing the color of the film, and also in the sound mix. But that's not to say I don't like the other portions of it. It's just, it's just the part where I get to be kind of alone in the dark room and just kind of play with the footage and make things happen.
Yeah, very good. So I myself, I feel like until I know how to edit my film, edit it, and then I will actually shoot better. Because I will consider how to, I will understand in the editing room whether you have more or not enough footage, as an editor. And so I think it's very important for filmmakers to know how to edit, and then when they shoot they will get right amount of materials, especially for documentary filmmakers.
Yeah.
Because we don't have script. So yeah. And so tell me a little bit about the film you made, and made received quite a lot of awards, and the one went to Awareness Film Festival last October in California.
Yeah. So the short film you saw was called, it is called Mater Mortis. And Mater Mortis is a short horror/drama film about a South Asian family that's kind of fracturing under the weight of their matriarch's illness. The matriarch in this case is the mother of the main character, and her illness is that she's a zombie. And we're kind of using her zombification as kind of a metaphor for illness in the family, and for we're kind of using kind of the illness to explore the kind of fracturing relationship between the father and the son as they're both struggling to deal with this kind of, you know, ever-present tragedy in their midst. And it's kind of a way to explore just kind of how, like, sometimes there's intergenerational conflict in South Asian homes where people don't want to communicate things that are clearly just kind of right in front of them. And yeah, it's a short that is inspired by things I went through with my own family, with my mother's illness, her mental illness specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. So it got quite a few recognitions, right?
Yeah, we got quite a few awards, and probably twice to three times the amount of nominations for the film. And we've been to about 23 festivals so far. We got maybe three more that we're confirmed to be in, but we're still waiting on more for 2022 to hear back if we're going to get in or not.
So what do you think in terms of a festival? Why filmmakers go to a festival, and what do they get out of it?
I think filmmakers go to film festivals because that's just kind of the scam we're kind of stuck in the industry, where we're supposed to spend a ton of money to usually get told no. And it's, you know, it's just kind of like the gatekeeping aspect of the film industry. And I wish I had a nicer thing to say about it, but that's how I feel about it.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it's supposed to help out people, develop people, and I feel with the vast majority of festivals that's not necessarily true. I think there's some festivals I did go to that were a little more involved with trying to build community with the filmmakers and make something happen, but the vast majority of festivals are honestly money making schemes, and in my case, just to navigate things and make things even work for me, I had to hire a festival consultant, just to kind of make heads of tails or things to even know if like some festivals were worth going to. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. No. I think film festivals has its value for some of the films. If say you get into some awards, right, from festival, then at least on the paper it looks good, right? Even there are small festivals, people say, oh, I won, this at this film festival. And for general public, they really have no idea if that festival is a small one or big one. They don't know. So in
Yeah.
that sense, it's a good PR thing. But and I agree with you. A lot of film festivals, they are kind of money making machine. They have no inventory, right? It's like a company has no inventory, only getting other people's goods to display at the festival, and then they can charge admission for that, right? Um, so
Yeah, I mean, it can be really frustrating sometimes, because I remember one festival in particular I didn't get into. They still were like, hey, you're going to get a free filmmaking pass if you want to come travel to where we are to see our festivals, see the films. Like, you're more than welcome to come. And it's like,
mm,
okay, when it's something like that, it's fantastic. But then there are other festivals that are like, oh, you didn't get in, we're not going to screen your film, but you're nominated to the festival, or you're in the festival, but we're not screening you. But you're not going to get a pass to come here, but we're going to tell you you're in the festival. So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff with different festivals in this industry, and it's the ones that are great. Like, you get fantastic communication, you feel like you're attended to as a filmmaker, which is great, because there's a lot of demands put on filmmakers to be good at a lot of stuff. And like, what if you're someone that's just not like me, that's not great at self-marketing? Like, I'm very concerned about being good at my actual craft. It's hard for me to also make time to be good at all the marketing stuff, and a lot of festivals use you more to market themselves to make money than they do for, you know, actually helping you out, because like you pay an admission fee to even just get seen, but then you've already spent the money, and all of a sudden you realize, oh wait, this online festival I just applied to is all about me getting them views on their viewing block, and then I now have to ask people to vote for my film just to like even just get an award. And it's like, you guys are the ones that are supposed to curate this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shenanigans and bullshit out there, and unfortunately, like, you know, this is kind of the path we have to go in as filmmakers. Like, if we want to get seen, like, some people get lucky enough where they get 1 million views and they get noticed, like on Vimeo, you know, or on YouTube, and they're able to like parlay that into career, and that's fantastic. But that's not the majority of people. Most of us still have to use festivals as a way to even start building up a list of contacts, or to meet people in the industry that are serious or that we get along with, because a lot of this industry really is about personalities. It's about relationships, and that's something I don't feel like. I feel like, you know, unless you go to like a real proper film school where they're going to like kind of emphasize that as you're going through your 4-year program or whatever, a lot of people that come into filmmaking that don't have that opportunity or the money to like put down the ridiculous amount of money required for film school. Yeah, it just doesn't, you know, like you really need to drill that into yourself, that this is a people business, and you do need to build those relationships, and sometimes film festivals are really good for that. Like, I know it was good for me. I met through film festivals. I actually met film festivals I've actually met people that are now my collaborators. So even though like I'm kind of broadly feeling negative about it today, like there are positive things. Like, catch me on another day, ask me about film festivals, and I feel a little bit happier. You know, maybe I get into Tribeca or something. I'm like, oh man, they're fucking great. You know, but
yeah. I understand. We have several people here at audience, and please feel free to make comments or ask questions. I can see we have some people here. Thank you so much for being with us. So maybe we can show one of your reels. Let's
Sure.
see. Let's see. Should we show your reel?
The extended one or the director's reel? I think the director's reel
Let's
is the first one.
see. The label is reel, and then the other is director's. A reel
Yeah.
on Vimeo. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay, we'll do that one. Okay.
When you rise, when you wake up, your body and your mind always tells you that you can't, you're done, you can't. Truth is, that's when you gotta dig down deep and find that little bit extra. He was the sickest motherfucker in that room.
Beware, the damned are hungry for your flesh. Will your great reward be victory or oblivion? Look at Claire! She needs to get used to these little suckers. Ew!
Nice. Very nice. So yeah, those are really great shots and great sequence. So tell us a little bit about do you also do camera work, or you have a DP with you?
For my own projects, I'm typically my own cinematographer, and I've worked as a cinematographer. I mean, I've pretty much due to my windy career path, I've had to learn and do many jobs. I'm very comfortable with cameras. It's like not really an issue for me. For me, like being able to use a camera, being able to edit, being able to direct, being able to work on the color of a film, being able to write, like these are all things that are just part and parcel of my craft. So, if I'm ever lucky enough to work with a DP on my own projects, I'll be happy to work with someone that totally gets and my sensibilities and me gel together. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, like doing my own camera work is not a problem because it's just something I've done for a long time, and it's kind of inherent in me at this point.
So tell me a little bit about your camera thing. Like, what do you use now, or what have you been like a history of, like, do you always change your camera when the new trends coming out, or you just use whatever you have? Like, what's the the film? What is it called?
Oh, Mater Mortis.
Mater Mortis. Yeah.
So,
what camera did you use that?
So to answer your previous questions, I mean, for my own personal camera, I've always mostly used the Panasonic GH series. I don't use them anymore. I used the GH5 for Mater Mortis, and then I sold it after I was done. Like about a year later after Mater Mortis, I sold that camera. For the most part, I tend to prefer cinema cameras for narrative stuff. And depending on the job, like I'll use whatever camera the job requires if I'm hired for it. So I tend to be pretty agnostic for most work, camera agnostic. In terms of my own personal camera right now, I don't own a DSLR or anything. I have a little Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera. It's very stripped down. It's pretty much only about the image quality. And I really like it because it's really all about kind of that very, it's very focused on the like post-production workflow where you get your raw image, you have plenty of leeway to like work with it, and it's not like kind of a do everything camera. And because my interest is mostly in narrative, it's perfect for me where I'm at right now. But whether or not I use it on like my next kind of major project, it's dependent on the needs of the project and if I'm able to like get the budget to rent the type of camera I want to use on it. Yeah, but in terms of just my own personal cameras, GH5 is what was used on Mater Mortis. Before that, I used to own a GH4 and a GH2, and yeah, I mean, otherwise, like, I'm not particularly swayed one way or the other by camera manufacturers anymore. It almost doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah. The reason I ask about camera is that for the last about 5 years, I've been using a lot of a smartphone, iPhone, to shoot. So I actually made my my Yangon diary by using iPhone 11.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because it's small. I just one person band, and I don't have a fancy sort of sound person with me. So I just went, to the field by myself with a microphone. So it worked out for me. Now, what would you say to a new comer of a filmmaker? Like, if you would give that person some kind of a suggestions or advice, like they want to pursue this as a career, as a filmmaker?
It'll suck like 95% of the time. And like you'll have moments where like you feel
Rich, Rich, look.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, like it'll suck like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, and then you'll have moments where you finish your thing and it feels amazing to be done, and then you're kind of back to like the suck and the grind of it. So it's one of those things of, if you really want to be in this industry,
you
need a lot of stamina, and you need to find ways of supporting yourself because it's very unstable, and you also need to be on top of your mental health and your physical health, because it's a very demanding industry, especially if you're going to be in production or post-production. Unless somehow you're like a money person, and then in which case, like any other money person in this world, like you do barely any of the work and take all the credit and all the rewards. So that's my that's my 2 cents about it. But if you really do want to do this, and you don't have the benefit of being able to go to a fancy film school that gives you all the connects you need to even get started in the industry, because there's a lot of gatekeeping in the industry, especially in the United States, where, you know, if you're applying to a workshop, they want to have seen you went to one of these fancy schools, and if, you know, and made that you got a film into one of the top tier film festivals in the country or the world, to even begin considering your application. There's a lot of gatekeeping. So you're going to have a lot of stuff cut out for you, whether you're an actor. Actors have it very bad. Whether you're, you know, in post-production, whether you're on camera, director, whatever it is, writer, there's a lot you have to do. If you really want to just get started and do something, I would say pick a craft and learn it, get good at it, and try to get work at it. And if you want to like use that craft as your starting point to eventually transition to something else, that's always possible. Like, there's no straight road to anything in this industry. Like, if you told me 10 years ago that that I would be someone that's unafraid of doing any job on a film, I would have told you that it was crazy. But just the way my life has gone, and like my own personal intentions with where I wanted to be and with the type of director I wanted to be, I had to learn everything. I had to pick things that would force me to learn new and different skills, so that my understanding, my knowledge of the process got much deeper. So yeah, I just say try to be as unafraid as possible about learning new things, and keeping your mind open, because every time you think you know everything, it turns out no, you fucking don't.
Right.
So
Now
I
tell me
don't know if that was clear advice or not. So.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what exactly is a film director do? Because it's like a very vague, even to me. Like, what does a director do?
It depends on the type of director you are. It really does, because like you can be a director that all you did was write the script, and then you make a film, and then you just hire the best people to do all the other roles, and you basically have to tell them communicate your vision and make it happen. You can be like me, where you're someone that's very intimately involved in every stage of everything. So I'm very hands-on from start to finish. In which case, like, yeah, it's very much my kind of like what I want to happen. So I mean, I guess to boil it down, a film director is supposed to be the person that's trying to coordinate the creative vision and make it happen, albeit, like, you know, they're the ones that usually are supposed to have the final say in that. But when you're talking about studio films, that's not necessarily the case. The final arbiters of that will be the bean counters, because if they don't think the film's going to be successful because certain things aren't there that they want there to be, like, you end up with stuff like what happened with Zack Snyder's Justice League film, where they brought in another director and changed the whole direction of it. But what a director is and what a director does is supposed to be somebody that's the arbiter of the creative vision of the film. But the reality of it depends entirely on the production and the story of the production, so to speak.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, well said. So could you tell us a little bit what currently do you have project is working on, and what is it? What is it?
So outside of Mater Mortis, which is still going through film festivals, I'm in the process of working on a short film with a fellow writer of mine. She wrote a script. She's a former Marine, and she wrote a script about basically like morale and life on a Marine base. And we're working on this script, and it's supposed to be kind of like a very wholesome, like, work drama sort of short film. I don't want to pitch it too much because it's still in development. I don't want to give away anything. And I'm also working on just kind of in the beginning development process of 2 feature films, and I'm probably going to pick one over the other and shelve the other one once I kind of figure out which one is more where I'm kind of headed. And it'll probably be a couple of years of development before I even start trying to make it like happen. So that's where I'm at right now. Just, a short and a feature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now, what is the most challenge thing, say, when you start a project, start to finish? I'm sure there's many elements, you have to take care of. Well, what is the one most challenging thing you have to face?
What is the most challenging thing I have to face? I don't know, asking people for money. I think that's my least favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you like what do you call fund your project? Do you just go to investment, or do you go to friends, or do you just do crowdfunding? Or
I'll speak for Mater Mortis, like, because all my other personal projects I did for no money. But Mater Mortis, we crowdfunded it through Seed and Spark, and then the rest of it kind of came out of pocket. Yeah, because I don't have rich Wall Street finance friends that are willing to throw money at my projects. So, but I do have family and friends that really care for me, and they made a very big difference in making Mater Mortis happen. Without any of them, there'd have been no Leo. There'd have been no paying cast and crew. Because the thing is, we wanted everybody to get paid, because the thing is, like, when you do these things, it's like they're spending all this time. You don't know what's going to happen with your project necessarily. Even if you do make a plan, even if you do make stuff happen. So I personally feel that even for independent projects, you should do what you can to pay people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many lead person is in Mortis? Sorry.
We have there's basically 3 leads. There's Leo Solomon, who played the lead character Rajan. There's Siraj Huda, who played the father, and then there's Liza Rumdeen, who played the zombified mother.
How did you find Leo?
We hired a casting director, and he was one of the first ones on it, and he had the best reel, so we asked him to come audition, and he did, and he was the best one, and we like, can you do it? And he said yes. So that's how
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. So can we see the reel? Can we see the trailer?
The trailer? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's see which one is which. Okay, so I see. Okay, teaser, right?
Yep.
Okay, teaser. Okay. So, do you want to tell, or shall we just play? Do you want to tell? Huh?
You can go ahead and play.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Let me stop this. Where is it? Okay. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what we see.
You saw a bunch of images from Mater Mortis.
Yeah. That's like a very short trailer.
I mean, the film's 14 minutes, so there's only so much you can do to make a trailer.
Yeah. Did you cut it, or somebody else did? Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do my own editing.
Yeah. Is this the music in the film, or it's a different music?
That music's also in the film.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of reflection, right? Do you call this genre is it a horror or is it drama, or what do you call
I
this?
call it a drama/horror film.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very effective. And
Thank
so I see, especially the first shot is a very cinematic mode, right? It's much more narrow than, it's not 16:9.
No.
Yeah. So it's very, very,
Yeah.
very nice. Is that about 23:9? Or what do you call that?
Yeah, that's it's 23:9. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
3.9, something like that. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's really nice. It's
I don't know why I can't remember right now, but yeah, it's like 2.39, something like that.
2.39. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. So do you find is this on your camera? You can set that way?
No, I don't do that in camera.
Oh, you do it in post.
Yeah, so what ends up happening is when you so there are many processes, there are many ways you can go around this. Like some people who are really purist, like they'll be like, listen, if you shoot it in a wider scope, right? Then you can just have like usually if it's a cinema camera, there'll be ways to like just have bars so you can frame everything within the right thing, but you'll still have all the image data that's outside of there. So that's how I shot it. So I had everything, I had the lines there, but I still got the whole image. I didn't shoot it just for this, right? So by the time like I got into post, if I needed to readjust something or change anything, I still had a little bit of leeway. But that's basically how television was shot when everything was in the square aspect ratio before HD became normal, and we started getting widescreen aspect ratios for television. So yeah, I mean, usually you shoot on film, you get the whole thing, but then you can in post production you can crop it. Yeah. And the crop usually, like if you're filming for a specific aspect ratio, you'll still film big, but you'll mark out where, like on your camera, so you can see it like properly.
Right. Otherwise, if you don't think about that, and then you cannot make it so narrow, right? Like
you can. It's just there might be some shots where you can't because you shot it differently.
Yeah.
So it's entirely dependent on, like I won't say they're hard rules because there are basic rules, and when you kind of know them, you can break them, and there's no rules at that point.
Yeah. So personally for you, why do we strive that dimension now? Like, is this better, or is just a preference? Like, not 16:9. Now we're much more wider.
It depends entirely on you. Like,
I see.
For me, because my intent was always to screen this in theaters, 2.39 looks beautiful on a theatrical screen because you don't have black bars, and most theaters, they can actually change the how wide or how like tall the projection is. So but to get like the full aspect of the theater, it's usually 2.39, and that's why I chose it. I just thought it was emotionally more resonant that way. And also I feel even on the web version, or the home version at 2.39 for me is still more emotionally resonant because of kind of how much it allows me to just focus on a character. And because a lot of it was the emotions of the lead character, 2.39 just worked better for me. I consider 1.85, which is like close to 16:9. That's like the cinematic 16:9, but it doesn't matter. If you like 16:9, just shoot 16:9. It doesn't. The aspect ratio is all about what it does for your film. Like it's your choice.
Yeah. Now, by the way, do you do social media like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube?
I have an Instagram where I share miniatures I paint and pictures of my cats. I have a Twitter where I complain about shit and repost news. And that's about it. I'm not a social media whiz.
No.
No, not at all. I was momentarily addicted to Clubhouse, but now it's all people talking about NFTs all the time, so I don't give a shit anymore.
I'm on Clubhouse a lot. Oh my god, I need to follow
Yeah.
you. I love it. I love Clubhouse. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't do I don't do and whatever and NFT.
yeah, I don't need like tech bros coming into my rooms and talking like they know everything, and it's just I don't know, it's just like Clubhouse used to be cool when I was able to find like super nice people, but now everyone's trying to sell you something, so I'm just very uninterested, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know, social media is kind of a wash for me. I mean, you can find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter if you want to interact, that's fine. Like I'm not a brand. I'm just some schlub that makes movies.
Well, one of the reasons I ask you about Instagram is that it's a vertical, right? When you do video vertical, do you ever see yourself possibly can make a film with portrait mode?
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, I don't doubt it that I could do it. It's it depends on the project. It depends on what the film wants to do. If I'm I'm less interested in kind of whatever kind of like the popular trends are becoming. And I'm more interested in, how am I going to tell my story? Because at the end of the day, like the types of films that made me want to make films as a kid, that continue to inspire me to want to make films. It's ultimately about, well, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to make? And for me, like chasing a trend and, because that's something everyone's doing. Like it's not interesting to me, but like, for example, like Zhang Yimou, when he made Raise the Red Lantern, like that movie still is like in the back of my mind every day and just affects me like very, very deeply. Cause
tell me more. I'm a big fan of him. So did you see the Red Sorghum? The first one? The first film of his is Red Sorghum.
No, I've not seen it.
He was you should check that out. He was a cinematographer at that film. Okay. And later he became a director.
Yeah, no, it's just that movie was just so beautiful. And I mean, it's one of many, many films that inspired me as a child, but I just remember this one being about, I think it's like in China, either in the early 1900s or late 1800s. And it's a young country girl gets married off to a rich man with many wives. And she's the newest, like, wife or concubine.
She's the fourth concubine, fourth wife.
So, and mind you, it's been like 20 years since I've seen it. Like I'm still trying to track down a copy. So if someone has a copy they want to send my way, please do. I love that film. And I just remember just how intense the film felt and just how everything was framed around these lanterns, and it was just very beautiful and visual, and like the visuals just would change, and it would just change the whole kind of like timbre of what was happening. And it was just a very, very intense film. And it's one of those things of why for me, whenever people say bad things about like other cultures and other countries, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, because there's just so many things artists in other countries can say by just showing us a vision of something that tells us so much more about it. Like I saw the film The Last Emperor. It's a beautiful looking film, but rewatching that as an adult, I kind of disliked it, because even it was ultimately made by European filmmakers, by Italians, and like, Hollywood and like British cast and crew and stuff. And it's supposed to be about the last emperor of China. And it just had such a like European lens to it versus something like Raise the Red Lantern, where I saw as a child and immediately felt more real. It didn't just feel like a drama. It had a real element of like, hard commentary on like something that people went through in this era. I don't know. It's a very arresting film, and I feel everybody needs to watch it. And I feel Zhang Yimou, he's still making films today. Like he's got to be a man at this point, but he's still making amazing films. I saw this.
He's 70 some
Yeah, I
2 years.
saw this film he did that looked like Chinese like ink paintings.
Uh-huh.
It was called Shadow, I think, and it's sort of like the Chinese Kagemusha, except the guy that's imitating the general or whatever is like the general's still alive, but he's dying of a poison or something. But that whole film, like visually, it's just like brush painting, like Chinese brush painting, and it's a visually arresting film. I don't think it's as good as Raise the Red Lantern, but I do think like Zhang Yimou is one of those guys where he keeps making amazing work, and it's just it's nonstop with him.
Right. So he's really brilliant. He also directed the entire Winter Olympics in China. The Winter Olympics. Yeah.
That's a completely different skill set. Live
Yeah. Yeah. It's very high tech, right? High tech. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like lots of animation, lots of video, special effects. And
yeah, I've not watched the Olympics since I was a child, so I have no idea what's been happening.
Yeah, the winter, just this Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
So so now you were born in South Africa?
No, I was born in London in the United Kingdom.
London. Okay, you were born in London.
Yep.
And then you raised in where?
And then my family moved when I was only a few months old to Côte d'Ivoire.
What's that?
Côte d'Ivoire is a country in West Africa.
West Africa.
Yeah, it's neighboring Ghana. It's oftentimes called Ivory Coast, but the official name is Côte d'Ivoire.
Why would they move there? Are they working there?
Yeah, my dad got a good job, and
okay.
That's why we moved there. And then I lived there for the first 13 years of my life, and then eventually my green card came, and then my dad moved me to the U.S., where I went to school and eventually to college, and eventually got my citizenship.
And your father got a job in U.S. or
No,
you just
my father stayed back in Africa because whatever opportunities he got in Africa were better than what he was getting in the United States. So you have can you have a British passport and United States? I'm also a British citizen. Yep.
Oh, okay. And are you American citizen?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So you dual citizen.
I'm a dual citizen, but at this point I've lived in the United States most of my life.
I see.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like in terms of your what do you call, you trace back your tradition? Do you feel you're British, or do you feel you're West African, or do you feel you're American, or does it matter?
That's an interesting question, and the answer is I feel like a bit of all of those things, because these are all cultures I've been a part of. These are all things I've interacted with, and they're a part of me. And even though I feel a part of all of those things, I'm also an outsider to all those things, including my Indian heritage, because defining myself is not as simple as putting myself in one of these boxes, because ultimately I've experienced and seen so many very rich cultures and traditions. They're all a part of me, whether it's my colonized British side or my colonized American side, or like my Indian side, or even my West African side, because even my family, like, we trace ourselves back to having been in East Africa, right? Like my dad's side of the family, they were in East Africa for a while too. So it's kind of a complex identity that I have, where I'm a part of all these things, but I'm also an outsider to all of them.
Do you ever feel that you have an urgency of telling the stories of where you come from, or how your past have been? Because it sounds very interesting. Different. You have experiences. At least 3, or if not 4 different traditions. And would you ever like write something, or script wise? And
it's already I've already been doing that. Like,
okay.
Example of that type of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have been doing.
Yeah, it's an example of that type of work.
I see.
because it is a film with South Asian people in the United States kind of dealing. I mean, it's a fantastical thing that's happening to them, but it also just happens to be very grounded in things that people in the real world deal with, which is familial illness, right? It's kind of exploring the like if you're South Asian and you've had a South Asian like parent, like some of how the father and the son communicate in that film is very much like inspired by that sort of like you want to say something but you can't bring yourself to say it because of the social conditioning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So do you feel right now you are more Americanized, or how do you feel? Like identity wise?
I think I already answered that question. I
Okay.
feel like I'm a part of everything, but I'm also an outsider to it.
I see.
So if somebody tries to box me into something, I always instinctively push back because it's like, well, I'm Americanized, right? I feel like I'm from New York specifically. But also I'm a part of all these other things as well. And I don't think they're competing for each other. I just think identity and culture is just a lot more complex than trying to just fit people into boxes. Like when you try to box people into like, oh, are you American? Are you Chinese? Are you English? Whatever. It's like, yeah, it's a nice shorthand for people, but like for people like myself, it's just, it's I don't know, it kind of hurts. It's like people are not trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm around like my own people, like Indian people, sometimes I feel like I'm outside of that because to them I'm too westernized. Or if they're Indian people that have straight from India versus myself, who's a diasporan Indian, from Africa, from the UK. I'm like almost twice removed, and even though I want to be a part of that, like I'm also an outsider to them. So to just say I'm Americanized is like, what does that even mean when when I already kind of had British culture and I had African culture before even moving to the United States, and like just kind of dealing with the cultural colonization, and even just seeing it in other people growing up when I was in West Africa, where everybody wanted to be American or European instead of seeing like the beauty they had straight at home, because we have a lot of media in those parts of the world that are telling us like, you're not enough as you are. You want to be like these people whose media you're seeing from a million miles away.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your web series, Beyond the Longbox.
Beyond the Longbox was a docu-series I did with my friend and collaborator Renzo Adler. And we basically went and interviewed different people in the comic book industry in New York specifically. Although at one point we went to the UK. But we predominantly shot it mostly around New York. And we'd interview comic book artists, publishers, and it was a web docu-series where we just kind of put like a real spotlight on these people making really beautiful stories and art and the such. And the show itself, we've not made new episodes for a couple of years. It's basically done, but you can go watch the episodes at your leisure.
Where can we? YouTube? Oh, that's great. And now the short you made, the Metamorphosis. What do you wish for? Like, can people just watch it online, or people you can distribute your own on your own ultimately?
I mean, the likelihood of Metamorphosis getting distribution is extremely low because it is a short film. So what's probably going to happen is it'll be available to watch on Vimeo eventually for free once it's done with film festivals. So if you want to watch it eventually, you can just see it.
Yeah,
on Vimeo.
So do you eventually? Oh, my cat is here. Do you eventually wanted to make a feature?
I mean, one of the two feature projects I mentioned earlier is like a feature version of Mater Mortis.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of developing it and kind of seeing if I'm ready to kind of move ahead on that or pursue this other feature that I want to make.
Mm.
Ultimately, it's a matter of where I am at that point in time, and if it's easier to do the other one, I'll probably do the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. So the shorts usually cannot be distributed, or people distributions are not and they don't pick up shorts, right? And they maybe they'll pick up feature, meaning things are more than, I guess, 75 minutes or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And have you dealt ever, like, do you know this business of distribution, or you have any hope of getting distribution? Sometimes you can find distributors before even your film is finishing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have a film to distribute, I'll get distribution. I'm not super worried about that. My producer I work with the most, who's also my assistant director, Alex Torres, he made his first feature and got it distributed. So I figure if he can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's already done it, I have no doubt he'll have my back in finding a distributor and making it happen. But distribution is a problem for the future for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you see yourself in 5 years?
Directing a feature.
That's wonderful. So do you prefer to make a narrative film, or
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I vastly have always wanted to be a narrative. I did documentary for a while. I love the documentary world. But it's always been my dream to be a narrative. So that's what I'm fully pursuing right now.
That's great. So now you are in Ohio, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So do you have a sort of ideal place you would like to live or work? Do you have like if you don't have to worry about anything else, like
I just
where
want
would
to move
you?
back home to New York.
You do?
Yeah. I just want to move back home to New York. Like that's it for me. Like I'm happy if I can move back home to New York. I'll be happy. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can deal with people being rude to each other. I can deal with like the subway smelling like piss. I don't give a fuck. Like
Yeah.
New York's my home, and I can deal with like that New York level of honesty where someone will tell you what's on their mind, exactly how it is, and you don't have to guess anything.
When was last time you were here?
I was last home in November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's very recent.
Yeah. I was there for the Yonkers Film Festival.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, New York is great. And, although COVID, has really affected the nation, especially New York, there's a lot more homeless, and the cities is pretty dirty right now. Yeah. But I think it's going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's hope that they're not lifting restrictions too soon, although it kind of feels like that because we technically still are in a pandemic and there's still new variants coming out. So everyone lifting stuff right now is just like, it just feels like a reaction to midterm elections coming up, and it's all just utter stupidity right now. So
speaking of COVID, did you have any like hardship, like in terms of work or life or living?
Yes, I lost all my clients for my freelancing work. I either dropped the jobs or, and I couldn't afford rent. I couldn't get work. So I moved to Ohio to be with my partner while she's finishing her PhD.
I see.
And that's why I'm in Ohio temporarily, to save on the exorbitant rent in New York.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Where did you live in New York? May I?
I lived in a tiny hamlet in Westchester County called Dobbs Ferry.
I know Dobbs Ferry.
Yeah.
You know how?
How?
Did I tell you? No, I didn't. When I first moved to New York, I got a job in Dobbs Ferry teaching in the middle school, high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, teaching music. Yeah. So I drive every day to Dobbs Ferry.
That's
Um,
really
yeah. It's a nice town.
yeah. It's a really nice town.
Yeah.
It's super expensive now, though. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
I don't
Oh
think I
yeah.
could live there again. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah, I'd probably move like a little further up north than that to
uh-huh.
get cheaper rent.
Yeah, everything's so expensive. Even Brooklyn, Brooklyn, certain area, nice area, Brooklyn is just
I mean,
as expensive.
Brooklyn's not been cheap for 20 years now. So
Yeah. It's difficult. Or Queens, maybe, or a Bronx. Yeah.
if the Bronx is still cheap, I'd definitely go to the Bronx.
Yeah. Bronx is
I went
cheaper.
to college in the Bronx, so like I'm very familiar with the Bronx.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, you're a New Yorker. Yeah. So yeah, so we have touched a lot of things. Should we do a rapid fire or not?
Sure,
We'll
sure, go
ask
for it.
you. All right, so it's 5 o'clock. We'll do a rapid fire. Okay. All right.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
God damn it! I'm a colorist. I like all colors. I like all colors.
All colors. That's not
Yeah.
possible.
Yes, it is because I'm a colorist, so I work with all sorts of colors. I'm also a painter, and I work with a lot of colors. So it really depends on the context.
Oh yeah, you're a colorist. Remember? Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. So what software do you use?
Resolve.
So Da Vinci. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what's your favorite food genre? Like type of food? Is it hard?
Okay, if we're all right, I don't want to like name names because there's a lot of like cultures, like certain food cultures I really love.
Yeah.
But I will say my favorite food genre is quite possibly vegetarian food, because whenever I have really truly exceptional vegetarian food, the flavors are out of this world. Like the best vegetarian Chinese food I've ever had is actually right here in Ohio.
Wow.
There's this like small place in Athens, Ohio called China Fortune, and the lady, she's like a Chinese lady. I think her family's from New York.
Wow.
And her vegetarian food is ridiculous. And it's like a real, like almost New York like Chinese place, because she has stuff off the menu, and if she likes you, she'll be like, "Hey, do you like fish?" "Yeah, I love fish." "Okay, so if you ever want that fish dish, I'll make it for you special, but you got to call me 2 days ahead of time. You got to call 2 days ahead of time for the day you're going to come pick up the fish."
Oh my God.
And when you do it, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So,
Ohio, where? May I?
Athens, Ohio.
Oh, I don't know where Athens is.
Yeah, that's
I
where
know.
Ohio
I know Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
but if you're somehow, for whatever reason, in the middle of nowhere in Athens, Ohio,
Athens.
look for China Fortune.
Oh,
That's like the best Chinese food
wow.
I have had outside of New York.
Wow. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Do you have what book do you read recently you really like?
I'm in the middle of a couple
Right
of books.
next to you.
Yeah. So I'm still in the process of reading a book I bought like almost 2 years ago called Insurgent Empire by Priyamvida Gopal. I'm still reading because it's a very thick academic like book, but it's about how the way we talk about like colonized peoples, how like there's like this pervasive myth that like, oh, the colonizers just kind of left eventually when these countries were ready to kind of take over, but it's false. Like you literally have several hundred years of resistance, and it goes into very great detail talking about how all these different colonized peoples really were fighting for a sustained period just to eventually get over that and kind of push back on this Western narrative of how colonization works. And for me, that's really important because, as a person of South Asian descent, like a lot of people kind of internalize their own like hatred of themselves because they're not like the people that colonized them, like, less than 100 years ago. And it's also something I saw a lot growing up in West Africa. And I see it a lot in the United States too. So it's for me that, like, even though it's been taking me a long time because it's a very thick academic text, like, it's something I'm dead set on finishing because it's actually quite good. It's actually very, very powerful, and everyone should read it. It's called Insurgent Empire. And then I'm also in the middle of like a lot of like technical manuals and stuff right now, for stuff related to color or camera.
Tool books.
Sorry?
Tool books.
Tool books, yeah. There's a book I really love. It's not like, it's something I've not read in a while, but I have read it before. It's Akira Kurosawa's autobiography. I really enjoyed that one. And then also a story written by his assistant called Waiting on the Weather. And it talks about like what it was like working for him as his assistant, which was very interesting. And if you are really into documentary, one book everybody should read is this documentary, A History of the Nonfiction Film, by Eric Barrow. That's Eric with a K. I'm not reading that right now, but it's so I'm very deeply unfocused with my reading because I'm like in the middle of like 12 books.
Wow, that's amazing. People these days, they don't read enough, right? We're just glued our eyes into our smartphone.
It's very difficult to find time for reading because something's always competing for our time, which is one reason why I'm very ambivalent towards social media, and I just do silly, stupid, frivolous shit on social media.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I spend way too much time. So, if you have an opportunity to invite 3 people for dinner, who would you invite? Separate occasion.
Separate occasion?
Not together.
I invite my dad because he died several years ago. I'd invite the last two I'm unsure of. I like all that's coming to my mind is I'd probably invite 2 of like my most like I'd definitely invite my French teacher from high school. Because he was kind of like one of my mentors, like in terms of just trying to be a decent human being. I'd definitely invite him for dinner. And then the last person I'd invite for dinner, my 4th grade teacher, because she was very, like, her name was Octavia McBride. She was like really like cool to me when I was in the 4th grade, and like kind of always like pushed me creatively. So I always kind of remember her fondly. Fuck it. I'm gonna cheat and add one more. My 9th grade and 12th grade English teacher, Mrs. Booker. I invite her too because she also like encouraged me with creative writing. So
wow, that's so sweet.
Those are the people I invite for dinner.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I don't know how to talk to people that I don't already know. So
yeah.
Like if I invited someone famous, like what the fuck am I going to tell to this person? Like I don't know you. Like will you play on the screen? I don't.
What about Obama?
No, I'm good, man. I don't want to talk to Obama. It's good. I don't have anything to tell him. It's like, yeah, what am I going to tell you? Like,
yeah,
he's busy eating with like super famous people. You think he gives a shit about me? No, fuck. Like, he lives in a mansion and has like ridiculous parties in his honor all the time. Like he.
Yeah. Well, you never know. So, what kind of music you prefer? Genre of music?
Uh, Genre, I run the gamut, but I can tell you what I'm listening to a lot of right now.
Yeah.
Lately I've been re-listening to Rage Against the Machine because Rage Against the Machine is literally always relevant to whatever political moment we're in.
What kind of genre is that?
I consider them their own genre. People would consider them to be kind of like a hip hop, like
Okay.
rock hybrid, like hip hop metal hybrid. But I kind of place them in their own category because they're just so unique. And I'm always listening to System of a Down because again, like I feel their music is always like timeless and eternal to whatever political moment we're in.
Yeah.
Because they're commenting on the very kind of forces that limit everyday people and kind of victimize all of us.
Mm.
And yeah, and then just generally different types of rock, metal, hip hop.
Mm.
Yeah, that's about it. Oh, I'm also listening to a lot of Scissor Sisters right now, which I don't even know how to classify.
Scissor Sisters. I never knew that. Yeah. So how did you find your music for your films?
I had to license it out from a website called Audio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Audio with 2 I's.
I see. I
Yep.
see. So you the way you find them is you're just going to listen, and then you pick something you like, right?
Yeah, they have like a metadata function where you kind of put in kind of the mood, you put in
Okay.
instrumental or vocals, and then you just
I
kind of
see.
like go from there. You go by beats per minute, and then
Oh, okay.
you kind of listen. You find stuff that you're in the mood for because we didn't have the budget to get a composer for stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, I can pay this much money for a year's worth of an audio membership,
Mm.
and then I did that. And then I basically have an unlimited license for that song. So even if it's like gets distribution, we're fine. And also made it easier to work with audio engineer, my sound designer, Christopher. So when we were working together, there was a suggestion that if eventually we had more budget, we could get a composer. But I was like, once this short is done, I want to move on to the next thing.
Mm.
We kept it simple with this thing, and just kind of went with like emotional like bits. Like the music, the film's not very music driven.
Mm.
But the parts where there is music, it was all licensed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. If I would take you right now to a happy hour, what would you drink? What should I get for you?
Orange juice.
That's so wimpy.
I cannot hold alcohol because I
Really?
don't drink often. No.
Oh yeah. You will not get troubleless.
I can barely finish a beer. So like
Trouble-free.
my friend Renzo, who I did Beyond the Longbox with, he'll tell you that like I can't ever finish a whole beer myself. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm absolutely a lightweight.
That's good. So that's good. You're safe. All right. So last question. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea? What tea?
Jasmine green or rooibos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But if I'm really lucky, I like white tea, but it's much harder to get the really nice white tea.
So you've traveled a lot. One more question. Which other country you would like to travel to work or to live?
I would like an opportunity to work and live throughout I guess the just sub-Saharan Africa, because there's just a lot of beautiful, amazing things there, and just the world has these very kind of like westernized, like false ideas of what sub-Saharan Africa is like, and it just kind of puts things down, to these untruths about people, and because I grew up in West Africa specifically, it's just something that's always been on my mind. So if I could make it work where, you know, I'm able to make my films and be there and still like kind of be distributing everything through the United States and stuff, because I know how things work in the United States because I've lived here longer than anywhere else at this point. But I would love that opportunity to do that in sub-Saharan Africa, which is not one country, of course, but it's just that entire those different regions just kind of as a whole are not fairly represented in Western media, and I'd love to do the same thing with wherever people in the South Asian diaspora are, because one thing, you know, people act like just because you're, for example, in my case, Indian, that we know everything about being in India, but it's like, I'm not from India. My ancestors were, my mother specifically was, like, my dad was really from Tanzania and the UK. And just kind of be able to tell stories that reflects the richness and the diversity of people of diasporas. I mean, you know, it can be South Asian, it can be other things, and if it's a different culture, different cultural diasporas that I'm not familiar with, I'd probably want to collaborate with someone so that that reality comes through, that you know, emotional realism comes through, and because it's never so simple that you can just write it and make it feel correct, right? It's important that people see a piece of themselves in media, otherwise they'll always be trying to be accepted by something that's not going to accept them.
Yeah.
Here's your question. Sorry, it's supposed to be rapid fire, but I keep talking forever.
No, make a lot of sense. Yeah. All right, so we are about to wrap up.
Okay.
So how about last word from you? Do you have anything to shout out?
Yeah, I want to shout out my lead actor in Mater Mortis, Leo Solomon. Everybody should hire him. He is absolutely phenomenal, complete professional. Like, I can't believe I was so lucky to have him. I want to shout out Alex Armando Torres, my lead producer on Mater Mortis. Without him, that film would not have happened. Like, I think everybody should find collaborators that really just have their backs and that you're kind of there for each other, because this is a very tough industry. Trying to do it on your own is fucking impossible. I want to shout out my partner, Ren, for always loving and supporting me. I want to shout out all of my New York found family in CSF. Kind of, I wouldn't be here without them, because when I feel depressed or whatever because of, I don't know, just being a filmmaker is really tough, they always have my back. And who else do I want to shout out? Fuck, I could go on forever, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, and yeah, I'm so glad I met you at the Awareness Film Festival, and I saw your film, and it's really great, and also met Leo and you, and yeah, so it's you, that's just shows film festival has its value, that they connect people.
I mean, it has its value in that aspect.
Yeah.
But everything else I was feeling really negative about still technically true. But I do want to say I'm grateful for you inviting me on this stream. I'm glad I got the chance to talk to you more in depth. We didn't really get to talk too much at Awareness. And you know, I hope that whatever your next film is, that you you know, you keep at it. Like, you don't get good at film overnight, and you're always gonna, as long as you keep at it, you'll find different aspects of the craft that you want to explore, and you'll just kind of naturally change. And the process itself is probably the thing that keeps me around, despite the amount I bitch and moan about it. The process of filmmaking and becoming better for whatever reason is what keeps me around.
Right.
'Cause
Exactly.
that in itself, the process for me is rewarding.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good. Very well said. Okay, so hope let's keep in touch and let me know your other projects coming up, and love to
For sure.
watch the film. And yeah, so if you come to New York, definitely we hook up in New
All right,
York.
great. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
let you know when I'm back in New York. Take care.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, audience, to be with us, and thank you so much, Rish, and to be with me. And yeah, and be safe, and be well, and be happy if possible.
All right. Talk to you soon.